Hey, nice to see you. Happy Monday, Facebook. Happy Monday, besties and bosses. I'm still trying to figure out the right place to look in this new camera. Let me make sure on Facebook that this is popping up and we'll get started. I think we are. So I'm on a few minutes late today because y'all, can we just laugh at the fact that I can never get my tech sorted out, right? I need an at-home tech person for this, but it is what it is. We're on live. And hey, I see a couple friendly faces. Manisha, Becky, I'm so blind. Is it Bam? Nice to see you all. Thank you for being here. I'm excited to dig into today's conversation. And I think you all can just see, this is not important, but it is important because sometimes I show up in sparkles online, and today I'm in my workout clothes, and I really think everyone needs to see this because I think we all think things are just the way we see on social media on one post. Some days I rock glitter and sparkles, and some days I'm hanging out and working in my workout clothes. And I think that's the beauty of working for yourself, but I think we all need to know that because otherwise we think we're doing it wrong. So we're just gonna say that. Hey, nice to see you all. Thank you for joining. I'm excited to talk about today's conversation. All right, let's dig right in. So what I wanna talk about today are sales calls, sales conversations, and I wanna talk about them through the lens of auditioning. Hey Jason, nice to have you. Through the lens of auditioning, particularly we titled this, Do Your Sales Calls Feel Like You're Auditioning for Work? Many of you know I'm an ex-actress, so I very much resonate with and relate to the world of auditioning and what that feels like. I also find, for me in the past, the way I used to approach sales conversations, they used to feel like auditions. I know for a lot of my clients it can feel that way. And I think for sales calls, for all of you, if you're hanging out with me, you're passion-driven, you're heart-centered, you care about your work, most likely the thought of sales and auditioning for work doesn't feel good, and yet many of us are approaching them that way, and it makes us feel yucky, icky. It's part of what feeds into the mindset that can really cause us to resist sales calls and sales conversation, and part of what I believe also can have us block ourselves from even getting sales calls or conversations in the first place. Because whether you believe in the universe and energy or you believe in the way your brain works in the subconscious mind, I subscribe to both. I think you can believe in both. Why not? I do. But I think either way, if we are subconsciously resisting something, or if we secretly don't want something because it feels like an audition and it feels like we're a dancing monkey every time we try to book a sale or book a client, what we are going to do subconsciously is push away that opportunity from ever happening. Or again, energetically, we're gonna put out in some form or way that we don't actually want this conversation to happen. And you better believe you're gonna have a really hard time having those conversations if they feel like auditions. And when I say feeling like an audition, I feel that feeling like you're on and you have to perform. And you have to be that dancing monkey, tap dancing around in order to be able to make money doing what you love. I see a comment here. What's your name? Because it's ISYG. It says, what movies or commercials did you play in? Oh gosh, y'all don't look that up. I was probably in about a dozen commercials. Actually, if you could find this one and share it with me, I'd be so happy. This is such a side tangent, but I did a commercial where I was for Jack in the Box, where I was a bride who goes ballistic and screams at Jack in the Box and destroys my entire wedding because he says it's not gonna last, and he's talking about the sales special, and I think he's talking about my wedding. And so I completely lose my shit, and it was the most fun job ever because I got to destroy an entire set. And then I also did a series of independent films. Some were better than others. They were all lots of fun, and they all took me around the world and were brilliant. But to answer your question on a side tangent there, Joe says, I saw that one. That's you? Really? It's an old one. I'm a brunette. But yeah, if you saw that, it's an old, gosh, that's probably a decade old, but that was me. And ISYG, what's your name? He says, I'll try to find it. Joe's giving me the claps. Thank you all. Thank you. That was my previous life. I love acting. I will always be partially an actress. But what I didn't love about acting, and just to bring us back to what we're talking about, was the audition process. And part of the reason I stopped acting and started my own business and went through hi JC. JC is my brother. So nice to have you here. He knows all of this. Andrew, thank you. That way I can call you by your name. Andrew, thank you for the question. Part of the reason I stopped acting, and I think many of you will relate to this, whether you're an ex-actress or in a 9-to-5 or starting your business because it's something you just have to do with your whole heart and it means so much to you, part of the reason that all happened is I never wanted to feel like I was auditioning again for work. I never wanted to feel like my self-worth, my validation, my income, the creativity I get to bring to the world was based on someone else saying, you get to have this work, you're tall enough, short enough, etc., etc. And yet, when I started my business and when I started having sales conversations and sales calls, to bring this back full circle, I very much found for a while that my sales conversations and sales calls felt exactly like an audition, and I had put myself back into this position that was exactly a mirror of what I was experiencing before, where I felt like I was putting myself into this place of, hey, tell me I'm good enough, tell me I'm worthy, tell me I check all these boxes, and that if I do fit all of this, then you'll hire me or you'll give me income for the work I love to do. Raise your hand or give me some sort of, what is it, the high 10, if you've ever experienced that with sales calls, or conversations. I think a lot of us start to feel like they are the barometer for our self-worth. They are what tells us if we are good enough at what we do. And I think a lot of us go into them feeling like, especially at the start of our businesses, like these are the barometer for if we should even have a business, if we're good enough to do our work. I know from many of my clients, if they have a sales conversation, it doesn't go the way they want, that is the indication to them that actually they shouldn't do this business. They're constantly looking outside themselves for that validation that they should be doing what they want to do. Aditi gives me the thumbs up, so this is resonating. I want to rewind the tape a bit here and talk about how damaging this is, not only for our self-esteem, but for our sales conversations and how we want to shift out of this. And just as a side note here, and I'm using myself very transparently as an example here, we don't get to avoid our shit just because we change careers or businesses or whatever it is. When I left acting, love it, and started my own business, and I went through this journey to find what I want to do, I think there's this fallacy in our mind that we just get to leave everything we don't like behind and all of the triggers and things we don't like and do something else if we don't take time to address what those things are in our mindset, and we don't take time to look at those things and excavate them. We will take the same exact situation and we will create it in the business we're creating or in our artistic endeavors. And I think this is something all of us want to be mindful of. I know some of my clients who I love and adore are transitioning out of the 9-to-5 world. And some of the work we have to do is focusing on not trying to escape the 9-to-5 world and not trying to hate on the 9-to-5 world, not trying to hate on their boss, being ever so grateful for that, because otherwise they're just going to create the same in their business, and transitioning into creating something new for themselves that they want. So they're not just taking whatever patterns they picked up in their corporate world and bringing them into their business world. So that's the first thing. I'm all over the place with tangents today because I have a lot to say around this. When it comes to our sales conversations, I think one of the first things we want to be really mindful of is before we ever get on the phone with someone or in front of someone to offer our work, to get really clear on why it is we're doing what we do and to really decide ahead of time that this is what we're doing, that we're in it, that we are good enough, that we believe in what we're offering, and that it doesn't matter what the next call or the call after that, what the outcome is. Either way, this is what we're doing. So that we stop making it an audition that says you're good enough or not good enough. As soon as we take that, I'm going to use the word power, as soon as we take that power on for ourselves, the call itself no longer has power over us. It can no longer dictate our self-worth. It can no longer be the reason, the sign that we're going to stay in business or not stay in business. As long as we are looking for reasons outside of us as the indication that we're good enough to have a business and to make money doing what we love, is as long as we're going to be searching for them, and we will find all the reasons possible that we shouldn't do what we want to do, because that's how our brain is wired, y'all. That's the reticular activating system, and if you believe in universal energy, what we think, what we believe, we also create. So science or universe, either way, that's what we're going to have as an experience. Tortured Style says, oh my God, your hair. Thank you. Yay, my hair. It's actually dirty. I was saying I'm rocking my gym look today, so thank you. And Tortured Style says, I love these serendipitous moments. I was just talking to someone about this. I love that this is resonating with you, and please share your reflections if you have any. I would love, love, love to hear them. And I see Anya. Nice to see you, love. We're about halfway through I'm always so fired up, you guys. Y'all, I shouldn't say you guys. So I think that's the first thing we really want to be mindful of when we're taking a look at our sales conversations, if they're feeling like we are auditioning for work, and if they are feeling a little bit like we're that dancing monkey on a call. Most likely part of the reason for that is mindset related, and part of the reason for that is because we are approaching these calls as the barometer for are we good enough, and as the barometer for should we stay in business, can we have a successful business, versus they're just a part of the sales process and a part of being in business. And whether this next call or next one after that goes well or doesn't go well, it doesn't matter. Hey Vanessa, nice to have you. About halfway through, we're talking all about sales conversations, so nice to have you here. And Tortured Style says, can we chat? I have 3 ? I don't know what that means, but we can absolutely chat, not live here while I'm doing this, but I'll absolutely send you a DM later. I would love to chat with you more. And see a couple other people joining. Thank you all for being here. Vanessa says hi. Hi. So that's the first thing, bringing it back to our conversation here around our sales conversations and when they start to feel like we're auditioning for our work. I want to remind everyone, our self-worth isn't something we get to audition for. So really want to invite everyone to take that on. Next thing I want to address here, and this is also a mindset perspective, but this is where we start to tap into the strategy piece of it. When your sales conversations are feeling like auditions, part of what is happening, at least I will say what used to happen for me, I used to not be able to sleep before those sales conversations, and I would get very in my head, am I good enough? Will they like me? Will I have the skills to do this? All this anxiety. And it was very, if you notice, that is very, very me-centric. Am I good enough? What will they think of me? Will they pay me? Will they be my client? Me, 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 me. And I say this with all the love in the world, but when we're on a sales call and a sales conversation, it's not about us. It's about the person in front of us. And I think the sooner we can think about that and step outside of ourselves and think about the person in front of us that we are serving, and we start to think about who we're serving, what their needs are, what they want, if it's something we can help them with, and we really start to think about our sales conversations. I know I was talking about this last month in our sales training call. If we start to think about this less about, do they like me? Do they not like me? Am I good enough? Am I not good enough? And more about, who is this person in front of me? What do they want? What do they need? Can I help them with that with my service or product? And how can I move them towards making a decision that serves them and what they want, whether that's to work with us or not, or to buy our product or not? The sooner we get out of that mindset where we're feeling like we're auditioning and we're that dancing monkey tap dancing around trying to prove our worth. And here's what's magical about that. The more we do that, the more powerful our sales conversations are, because that's where the magic lives. The magic in a sales conversation, the sales conversations that feel absolutely connected and beautiful, and that make people feel like they have aha moments, and that I cry in my sales conversations sometimes. The sales conversations that feel like that are not because we're making it about us and we're stuck in our head. They're because we're so focused on the person in front of us. All right, I see a bunch of comments here that I want to catch up on, and then I'll continue. So Tortured Style says, I realize after I stopped to a certain extent thinking of money when I talked to people and totally looking for how I can help them. That was when the money started to come. Go figure. Boom. Yes, absolutely. So you're exactly. So exactly what Tortured Styles is saying. The more we can stop thinking, and hey, part of my message is making money doing what we love. I'm all about making money doing what we love. I think money is beautiful. I want more of you to make more money. I think it will make the world a better place. However, I think the more we can detach from that, and the less we're thinking about our sales conversations as a means to an end, and exactly what Tortured Styles here is saying, the more we can think about the person in front of us and how we can serve them, the more, ironically, the more money we do make, because that's how we're showing up as service providers, whether we sell products or services. I don't care if you sell pens or curtains or if you sell one-on-one coaching, it's all the same thing. If you are selling me a pen, maybe not a big pen, but a high-end pen, if you care about what my needs are, you're going to end up selling me a pen. If all you're worried about is meeting your quota or being the best pen salesperson, talk about a crazy example, the more I'm gonna feel sold to and the less I'm probably gonna connect with you, and you're probably gonna miss out on that one thing I tell you that gives you the information you need to help find me the correct pen that I wanna buy. Silly example. Okay, Joe says, in community organizing, the mindset we have to have is that we belong and we are meant to give our message no matter what. We have the power. Absolutely. I love that so much, Joe. Absolutely, absolutely. Tortured Style says, so true, Joe. I love that, and I think what's so beautiful about that is the reminder that we do belong and we are a part of a community and that we do have the power. And within that, so does the person in front of us. So if we're having a sales conversation, the person in front of us also has the power, and they have the power to decide what's right for them. And all we're doing is having two people who are adults who have the mindset that they belong, who have that power, who get to have a conversation to see if what the service or product is a fit. And if so, how do we empower that person in front of us to make that clear decision to move towards what it is they want? And if it's something they don't want, how do we empower them to make that clear decision that it isn't something they want? And I think if we can have that mindset for ourselves, you know, what we believe about ourselves, we tend to see in other people, we're also going to encourage that with the people we're speaking to. And that's, again, where we're going to stop feeling like we're auditioning and we're going to feel like we're having two adults on a conversation really coming to a clear decision. It stops becoming about, am I good enough? And more just about, is this a fit? Can I help you? Is what I offer what you need? And can I help you come to a clear decision around that? Tortured Style says, find your purpose and the language flows. Absolutely. Fuck yes, I love that. Oh, okay, I had one other thing, and I don't know who else has joined on Facebook. Thank you for joining, and Instagram, thank you for still hanging with me, because I know I'm a little bit long today. I wanted to say something else here. Oh, okay, so this is the other thing I wanted to say about sales conversations so they don't feel like an audition, because the more we can step out of that audition mindset and when I think about auditioning, for those of you who haven't experienced an audition, what happens is you go into a room with a script, and there's usually anywhere between 2 to 15 people looking at you, and they're essentially judging you. And it's fine, that's just what an audition is. What I have found with auditions that was really powerful is the less I could be worried about audition technique and getting it right and following my script and reading it, the more I could show up in an audition as the role I was acting, the more of my grounded energy I could bring to the role, the more likely I was to book it. And what I found really messed me up when I was auditioning, and I swear this relates to sales calls, is the more I tried to get into audition technique and try to follow some guru's rules on how I was supposed to behave in a room, and the more I was worried about doing what I thought the writers wanted me to do on the page versus bringing my own essence to it, the less likely I was to book the role. I think the same exact thing goes for sales conversations. The more we can get off of a sales script, and hey, I'm all for sales strategy. I know sometimes we need to have a framework. I absolutely help my clients create a framework for their sales call, but I think the more we can get out of trying to follow a script and looking for a magical script for our sales calls and thinking that's what's going to help them convert, the more we can get out of trying to follow rules for technique, and the more we can tap into us. And as Joe said, our power, as Tortured Styles, I'm always blind on Instagram, Tortured Style says, the more we can tap into our power with the work we offer, and the more we can really slow down and listen to the person in front of us, which is what would happen in an audition as well, the more we have magical experiences and the more likely those calls are actually going to convert. The more they're also going to stop feeling like auditions and like we're trying to tap dance. That tap dancing feeling comes from trying to be perfect. It comes from trying to follow a script. It comes from trying to nail a technique versus being really present, slowing down and listening. What I have found, and again, this is whether you're selling pens or coaching or photography or I'm trying to think of I have a client who I used to work with who was a magician work, whatever it is, so much of where the magic in a sales conversation happens is in the silence, is what happens in between the words, is what happens when we slow down and listen and we stop making it about us. There's so much beauty in that, and I really think it's also what we allow to happen when we stop treating it like an audition. Tortured Style says yes, thank you. And Level Hood says thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I'm so happy this is clicking with you. Tortured Style says, I love you, great talk. I love you back. Thank you. Thank you for being here and for the comments. It makes it so much more fun to have a conversation this way. Facebook, y'all are very quiet, so if you're watching on the replay, feel free to throw out any comments for me or questions. I'm trying to think if I have anything else here I want to throw out around this. I think that we hit the main topics there. We talked about the approach to sales conversations. We talked about how to have them not feel like auditions. We talked about the scripts. Let me see this comment here, and I think I had one more thought for you. Tortured Style says, Robert Greene's book on human nature is amazing when he talks about our ego. I haven't read that. I'll have to check that out. And I'm sure it ties into this pretty highly, so I will definitely check that out. I think as a reminder, what I want to close out with here, and if anyone else has any other comments or questions, throw them at me before we end this. But what I want to leave y'all with is that the more we can embrace our sales conversations, the more we can stop looking at them as a barometer for our worth, for if we should be in business or not, for how good we are, the more we can take the spotlight off of us and shine it onto the person we're having a conversation with, the more we can get out of being stuck in a script and using that as a crutch because we use scripts because we're scared and we think we're not good enough. It's all part of the same mindset package. The more we can be present and listen to the person in front of us. And yes, lean into strategy in terms of, let me find out what this person in front of me needs and how I can help them. And yes, have some sales strategy. I'm all about a sales process. That's part of what I teach my clients. But the more we can lean out of using that as a crutch because we think we're not good enough, the more your sales calls will feel amazing and create magic. And here's the thing I know to be true that I have found for myself and my clients. The more we feel great in our businesses, the more we feel great showing up for our people, the more we feel great about sharing content or getting on a sales call, the more likely we are to create that revenue. Because again, whether it's you believe in the subconscious or you believe in the universe, when we don't feel great, when we don't like something, when it feels like we're a tap dancing monkey, when we secretly are anxious about a call, we are going to resist it and push it away. And we're not even going to have those opportunities to connect with the amazing people we can serve. So that is my invitation for all of you this week. I hope this was helpful. Lean into the beauty of being a flawed human on these conversations. I hope this will help all of you to enjoy the sales call portion or sales conversation portion of your sales process a bit more. And I think that's all I've got for you. Any other questions or comments, leave them for me. If you're on the replay, leave those for me. I will say I have a few spots, I think still, I have to double check, but I think it's a few spots still for April opening up for my heart-centered sales that sell a coaching intensive and for my ongoing coaching. So if any of you are interested in more support around your sales process and your mindset, I'd love to chat. There are links in my profile for a free consultation call, and Facebook, I'll have to figure out where those links are. I'll make sure there's one posted for you. Other than that, I will be back next Monday. We'll have another hangout, another conversation, and we will dig into more goodness then. Tortured Style says, I would love to create a fashion custom product for you. Well, I would love to hear more about that. I'll send you a message after I hop off of this. Thank you, and thank you for being here. Y'all, thank you for hanging with me. Have a beautiful, beautiful week, and I'll talk to you next Monday. Lots of love. Let's see, we're gonna hang up here. It's not really hanging up, it's ending.